Every year, over 2 billion oysters leave the water and begin a race against time. Not frozen, not canned, but alive. Their survival depends on meticulous handling. A single misstep in temperature or oxygen control can turn an entire shipment into a costly disaster. Yet somehow, they cross thousands of miles intact, arriving at markets and restaurants brimming with the fresh essence of the sea. How is this possible? From underwater airport storage to humidity-controlled crates that mimic tidal rhythms, oyster transport is a blend of science, innovation, and precision. In this video, we reveal the hidden systems that keep oysters alive and pristine from ocean farm to plate. Oysters start their lives in carefully managed coastal farms, where they grow submerged in nutrient-rich waters. Farmers cultivate them in cages or suspended racks, ensuring they develop the ideal texture and flavor. But harvesting is only the beginning of their long-distance transport. Once mature, oysters are plucked from the water, washed, sorted by size, and placed in specially designed containers that keep them moist without submerging them entirely, mimicking the tidal rhythms they're adapted to. Unlike fish or shrimp, oysters don't need constant water, but they do require humidity and precise temperature control. Stored between 1 degree Celsius and 10 degrees Celsius, they enter a state of dormancy, slowing their metabolism and preserving freshness for weeks. From the farm, they are packed into crates lined with seaweed or damp paper to maintain the right moisture levels. Some shipments travel by refrigerated trucks to nearby markets, while others take a more complex route. Oysters exported internationally are flown in cargo planes under strict health regulations, with customs checks ensuring they meet safety standards before reaching their destinations. Time is critical. Every extra hour increases the risk of dehydration or temperature fluctuations that could affect their quality. Despite their rugged shells, oysters are remarkably delicate. Even a slight change in their environment can impact their taste, which is why high-end suppliers go to great lengths to ensure consistency. For instance, some producers use controlled depuration tanks before shipping filtered seawater baths that flush out impurities, guaranteeing that each oyster arrives not just alive, but pristine. Whether bound for a bustling seafood market or an exclusive restaurant, every step in their transport is designed to protect their flavor, texture, and vitality. Transporting live oysters is a delicate balancing act, one that requires precision, speed, and an intimate understanding of marine biology. Unlike frozen fish or canned seafood, which can endure delays and temperature shifts with little consequence, oysters are living organisms. Every hour in transit is a test of survival. The moment they leave their natural habitat, the countdown begins. If they are exposed to fluctuating temperatures, excessive dryness, or prolonged oxygen deprivation, they die. And when they do, they don't just lose their freshness, they become a serious health risk. A spoiled oyster isn't just unpleasant, it's dangerous. Unlike other perishable goods that merely rot when mishandled, oysters can harbor harmful bacteria such as Vibrio, which thrives when they are stored at improper temperatures. A single bad oyster can cause food poisoning severe enough to land someone in the hospital. That's why their transportation is one of the most tightly controlled logistics operations in the seafood industry. At every stage, harvest, packaging, transit, customs clearance, and final delivery, there is no margin for error. Temperature is the single most critical factor in keeping oysters alive. If exposed to warmth, they awaken too soon, consuming oxygen at a fatal rate. If chilled below freezing, ice crystals rupture their delicate tissues. Maintaining the perfect balance between 1 degree Celsius and 10 degrees Celsius is a science of its own. That's why new packaging solutions, like phase change materials, have revolutionized transport, absorbing heat when needed and releasing cold to keep oysters in a perfect state of dormancy. Subscribe now to uncover the hidden science that keeps delicate foods like oysters fresh, even against the odds. On the other hand, freezing is just as dangerous. Unlike meat or fish, which can be thawed and cooked after freezing, oysters are never meant to be frozen alive. If exposed to sub-zero temperatures, ice crystals form within their cells, rupturing delicate tissues and destroying their texture. Even if an oyster survives mild freezing, its taste is irreversibly altered, losing the crisp brininess that makes it desirable in the first place. This is why oysters must be transported in carefully controlled environments, often using refrigerated trucks, cold storage warehouses, and air cargo with real-time temperature monitoring systems. But refrigeration isn't always reliable. Long-distance shipments, especially those requiring air freight, are at the mercy of unexpected delays. Cargo gets held up at customs, planes sit on tarmacs in sweltering heat, and trucking routes face disruptions due to weather or logistical bottlenecks. A single mishap in the cold chain can result in disaster. This is why some high-end seafood suppliers have begun using smart sensors and IoT technology to track temperature fluctuations in real time, allowing them to intervene before conditions reach a critical point. Beyond temperature, moisture levels are another critical challenge. Oysters are intertidal creatures, meaning they naturally experience periods of exposure to air during low tide. This allows them to survive short periods out of water, but only under the right conditions. If they dry out too much, they lose internal moisture, shrink inside their shells, and become weak. On the other hand, if they are submerged in water during transport, they can drown. It seems counterintuitive, but oysters rely on the natural ebb and flow of tides to regulate their oxygen intake. Trapped in stagnant water, they suffocate. To prevent dehydration, exporters often pack oysters with damp seaweed, shredded wood fibers, or moisture-retaining paper. Some companies have even developed biodegradable gel packs that create a humidity-controlled environment, mimicking the natural dampness of a rocky shoreline. These methods help oysters stay hydrated while preventing excessive moisture buildup that could lead to bacterial growth. Oysters destined for international markets face another major hurdle: government regulations. Because they are filter feeders, oysters absorb whatever is in the water around them, including pollutants, toxins, and harmful bacteria. To protect consumers from foodborne illnesses, many countries impose strict import regulations, requiring oysters to undergo rigorous testing before they can cross borders. One of the most common requirements is depuration, a process where oysters are placed in tanks of purified seawater for 24 to 48 hours to flush out contaminants. While effective at improving food safety, depuration presents its own challenges. It can slightly alter the oyster's natural flavor, as prolonged exposure to sterile water strips away some of the unique mineral qualities imparted by their native environment. For connoisseurs who can distinguish between a creamy Pacific oyster and a briny bellin from France, even a subtle change in taste is noticeable. Additionally, customs delays can be disastrous. Oysters can only survive for a limited period without proper storage, and bureaucratic holdups add unpredictable waiting times. A shipment stuck in customs for an extra 24 hours, whether due to paperwork errors, health inspections, or import taxes, can lead to mass mortality. This is why exporters must work closely with logistics companies that specialize in perishable goods, ensuring shipments clear customs as quickly as possible. Even after oysters survive long-haul transport, their path isn't over. If restaurants or seafood markets mishandle them at the final stage, all previous efforts are wasted. Stacking oysters incorrectly, storing them at the wrong angle, or exposing them to fluctuating temperatures can weaken or kill them before they ever reach a plate. Unlike fish or meat, which are stored lying flat, oysters should always be stored cupped side down to prevent the loss of natural juices that keep them fresh. Some high-end suppliers provide training to restaurants on proper handling, ensuring oysters remain in peak condition until they are shucked. Others have begun using shock-resistant crates that protect oysters from vibrations and jostling during the final miles of transport. Even with all these precautions, buyers perform rigorous quality checks before accepting a shipment. If even a few oysters show signs of distress, gaping shells, unpleasant odors, or dryness, the entire batch may be rejected, causing financial losses for both suppliers and distributors. Oyster transport isn't just about moving seafood, it's about preserving an experience. A perfectly fresh oyster delivers the unmistakable taste of the ocean, with the delicate balance of salt, minerals, and sweetness that makes it a culinary delicacy. But achieving this perfection requires an astonishing level of coordination, innovation, and expertise. From the moment an oyster leaves its farm to the second it's placed on ice, every detail must be meticulously controlled. The next time you see oysters on a restaurant menu, consider the invisible effort behind them. The precision of temperature control, the careful management of moisture, the maze of regulations, and the relentless pursuit of freshness. Every element must align perfectly. Because in the world of oyster transport, one mistake doesn't just mean lost profit. It means lost flavor, lost time, and in the worst cases, a lost life before it even reaches the plate. Oyster transport has remained largely unchanged for centuries, harvested from the sea, packed in damp materials, and shipped with the hope they will arrive alive. But as global demand increases, new challenges have forced the industry to evolve. Climate change, shifting trade patterns, and stricter food safety regulations have led to groundbreaking innovations in oyster logistics. From smart tracking systems to sustainable packaging, modern advancements are reshaping how oysters are handled, stored, and delivered. One of the most transformative developments is real-time monitoring sensors, which allows suppliers to track temperature, humidity, and oxygen levels remotely throughout transit. Traditionally, once an oyster shipment left a farm, there was little control over environmental conditions until arrival. If a refrigeration unit failed or humidity dropped too low, distributors would only find out when it was too late. But with Internet of Things, IoT, technology, suppliers receive live data updates and alerts, allowing them to intervene before conditions become critical. These sensors also use AI-driven predictive analytics, analyzing historical shipping data to anticipate potential disruptions, such as customs delays or unexpected weather events. Humidity regulation is just as important. Oysters need moisture to stay alive, but excessive dampness can encourage bacterial growth and weaken their shells. New packaging solutions now include biodegradable humidity control packs made from seaweed extracts, which release or absorb moisture as needed, mimicking the natural tidal cycles oysters experience in the wild. Some suppliers are even experimenting with nanotechnology coatings inside crates, which optimize humidity while reducing the need for constant refrigeration. Beyond optimizing storage conditions, researchers are finding ways to extend the shelf life of live oysters. One promising method is hyperbaric oxygenation, where oysters are placed in pressurized oxygen-rich environments before shipping. This forces them into a deeper state of dormancy, drastically slowing their respiration rate and prolonging survival. Another approach is controlled atmosphere packaging, CAP, which adjusts oxygen and carbon dioxide levels inside a crate to further slow metabolic activity. CAP has been widely used for transporting fruits and vegetables, but recent studies suggest it could significantly extend the viability of live oysters without affecting their taste or texture. An oyster's journey may be nature's masterpiece, but its transport leaves a footprint. Though these shellfish are among the most sustainable seafoods, requiring no artificial feed and purifying water as they grow, the way they travel can be anything but green. Most are packed in single-use polystyrene, a material that lingers for centuries. Now, innovators are fighting back with biodegradable crates made from mushroom fibers, recycled ocean plastic, and even compressed seaweed, transforming the way oysters move across the world. Oyster shell recycling programs are also gaining traction as part of a circular seafood economy. After being consumed, oyster shells are often discarded, but they can actually be repurposed to restore natural reefs. Some logistics companies now offer returnable packaging systems, where used shells are collected from restaurants, sanitized, and returned to coastal restoration projects. These recycled shells provide a natural substrate for new oyster larvae to attach to, helping rebuild wild populations and strengthen marine ecosystems. Looking beyond traditional transportation methods, some of the most ambitious developments involve rethinking how oysters are moved across the globe. One radical concept is submerged shipping, where oysters are transported in pressurized seawater tanks rather than crates. By keeping oysters in a controlled aquatic environment during transit, their stress levels are minimized, and their shelf life is extended. Early prototypes suggest that this method could be particularly valuable for high-end markets where quality is paramount. Another experimental approach is drone delivery, which could allow oysters to reach local markets and restaurants faster than ever, especially in congested urban areas. Despite all these technological advancements, one fundamental truth remains. Oyster transport is about more than just moving seafood. It's about preserving an experience. A perfectly fresh oyster delivers the taste of the sea in its purest form. Whether it's a crisp, briny Kumamoto from the Pacific Northwest or a buttery bellin from France, every oyster carries the essence of its waters. Ensuring that essence reaches consumers intact requires constant innovation. With each new breakthrough, the industry edges closer to a future where oysters are transported not just with efficiency, but with intelligence. The integration of real-time monitoring, self-regulating packaging, and sustainable shipping solutions is transforming oyster logistics from an age-old trade into a high-tech science. As the global appetite for fresh seafood grows, these advancements will define how oysters move from farm to plate, ensuring they arrive not just alive, but in peak condition, ready to deliver a perfect taste of the ocean, no matter where in the world they land. Billions of oysters are transported worldwide each year, facing strict temperature control, humidity regulation, and sustainability challenges. Innovations like real-time monitoring, advanced packaging, and shell recycling ensure they arrive fresh and intact. Behind every oyster is a network of experts preserving its quality from farm to plate. Next time you enjoy one, remember the science and precision that make it possible. Stay tuned for more hidden stories behind the food we eat. Oysters are just the beginning. The food we eat moves in ways we rarely consider, guided by science, shaped by innovation, and perfected by time. If you want to uncover more hidden stories of how food crosses the world, subscribe now and join us as we explore the secret lives of the things we eat.